Thanks. Thanks for your time. Want to check and see how much Christian Benteke has trained this week, how he's coming along, and what the chances are of him being in uniform and perhaps playing on Saturday.
Yeah, he's responded well since last weekend's injury. Been a part of some individual kind of return to play type training right now, and there's a possibility, I would say, for Saturday, but also, we're never going to rush a guy who's not, especially for someone like Christian, who's not ready to be 100% yet. So today we're training in the afternoon. Obviously, we have tomorrow before we travel, and we'll evaluate him in these sessions and see if he's able to make a push to be available on the weekend.
Health and welfare of anyone else on the roster dealing with any injuries?
No, I'm really happy to report that Jackson's been back a part of training, not all the way full in terms of just some of the limitations we have on him right now, but he's really close to making that step, and everybody else is healthy, which is a wonderful thing to be able to say, obviously with the exception of Christian.
Sure.
Then we'll go to Jose Umana.
Thanks for talking, guys. This week was announced Fletch is coming back to the team. What led to the process of bringing him back early from the loan? And what did you guys see overall from this time in England that made the decision easier for you guys to bring back?
Yeah, it was a big opportunity for Christian in terms of something that he wanted to try to achieve in his career, which is to play in England, and so he earned that opportunity. He had some valuable time there, particularly with the 23s and training with the first team. And I think we're seeing some of that development happen with his impact with the 20s, the U.S. U20s. In the end, I think Nottingham wasn't going to make a decision to keep him, it seemed. So for us, he's a player that, he played a lot last year prior to him going on loan and prior to a couple injuries that he had. And I expect him, once he's back acclimated with the team, he can absolutely compete to get into the squad again.
So we shouldn't expect to see him on Saturday?
It's possible. But at the same time, he's only been back a handful of days, and I want to make sure to respect the process to reintegrate him.
It's been a couple of days. You watched the game.
Mm.
And can you kind of sum up what you saw in Peglo's performance and what you like to continue out of that performance heading into against them?
Yeah, I mean, look, when Christian gets injured, that's our top goal scorer, and he's our guy. And for us to be able to do what we want to do in 2025, we need Christian Benteke to be healthy for a ton of matches this year, and I think that's important to say. That said, I start with that because whenever Christian goes out of the game, Bodge comes in and does very well. But also players step up, like Peglo, and so the impact that he had in this game was tremendous. I hope that he continues to take on that level of responsibility to score and create goals this weekend against Philadelphia, because I know he's very confident in the way that he just performed. And I think if he doesn't score on the day, it's a really high level performance for him. And these goals were spectacular, and we're very happy that he's scored his first couple for DC United, and hopefully many more are to come.
Topic. You got this field has been used a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How have you seen the field compared to last year and this year in terms of how
Man.
it looks and how it's been performing for you guys?
I really appreciate that question because sometimes these things, they don't get talked about, or they go behind the scenes a little bit, and people don't get the credit that they deserve. But one, the investment in someone like Blaze, who is our groundskeeper and oversees our training ground, and also Audi, and what you mentioned in terms of the usage that the Audi field gets is on a pretty high level, and that's something that if we're going to have that kind of traffic, then we have to take care of it. And what I see so far is the field's recovering really well. Last year this time with the same amount of traffic, it wasn't, and we know what happened in May, June, and July. So I told Blaze multiple times actually over the last couple of days just how appreciative we are of the job he's doing. And that's going to be important for us because we want this place to feel it's our home. We want it to feel like home whenever we play here. And I can't say enough good things about having him on our staff.
What makes a good pitch for your team?
I'm sorry.
What makes a good pitch for your team?
Yeah, I think just the surface being one that's not so worn as it was last year. There was just so many spots on the field that had a hard time recovering. So we want a playing surface that resembles every other field in the MLS.
Go back to Zoom, Brian.
We'll go to Dave Johnson.
Hi, Troy. Obviously, you mentioned João Pedro just a moment ago, but some great, just brilliance on Saturday. Is part of that? Do you sense he's getting more acclimated? Not that he wasn't already working his way in, but it's a transition to go from a different country to a new team.
Yeah.
Just what are you sensing in terms of the freedom it felt like he feels free to express?
Yeah, I mean, look, he's this is only his 7th match for the club. He had a few matches in preseason as well, but of course he's getting settled in. Assimilating to a new country and a new club with a new style of play, and that's going to take a little bit of time. But we've seen through those first 7 matches, because he was injured in the first 2 and wasn't available, that he's someone that in probably 4 matches he's been the difference for us, even when he's not scoring goals. So. He has that in him. That's obviously why we wanted to bring him to DC United, and I think there's more of that to come.
And some of his skills you can just sense, are skills you don't teach. That's just part of his DNA. Or what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, look, he has natural qualities that have nothing to do with being coached or anything like that. I mean, that's all Peglo, especially the creativity that he has. But I think that the way that sometimes a player like that's so creative, something that doesn't get talked about enough is how he presses, how he counter presses, how he works back for teammates and closes space whenever it goes beyond him. So that's just as much of a talent as what he does whenever he's scoring, wonderful goals like he does on the weekend.
How would you say your team is growing right now as you assess? You're coming off 3 points through training this week, dealing with adversity. How do you feel your team's growing?
Staying together, that helps us continue to move in the right direction, even through a run of results that we wanted to turn in the other direction. And I think that Cincinnati was actually the start of that. I think after probably the first half hour of that match, we felt like, okay, we can look more like ourselves coming off of a really rough result in San Jose. And even throughout the week of training last week, I think the group was really confident and what our approach is going to be at Red Bull, and we're going to need that confidence. We're going to need that togetherness at Philly, because it's a place that historically we haven't as a club had results in recent years, and they're in really good form, particularly at home themselves.
Next, we'll go to Bruce Murray.
Hey, Troy, thanks for your time. From where I sat Saturday night, total team performance. Every single player on the field was a contributor. Everybody played their part. It was fantastic. Can you talk a little bit about the dirty work that a center forward like Badji had to do in that game? I mean, to me, I've been in that position. That the performance he put in was outstanding.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, and that's a good way to phrase it. Again, those things don't get the credit that they deserve. I mean, the headline's going to be Peglo, as it should be, with the goals that he scores. But at the same time, though, things that we highlight in video are exactly what you're talking about this week, not only from Badji, but a number of players. But Badji, Dominique Badji, man, I'm so thankful he's with us. I've said that to him since he joined the club midway through the season last year. I knew that he would have an opportunity at different times, as he has so far in his roughly six months with the club, to make an impact. And this is another one the other night. The way that he relieves pressure whenever we're defending a little bit lower, and he's able to retain the ball for us is really a special quality that he has. And he's a guy that we're again going to need to be on a really high level on the weekend in order for us to be able to go and compete at Philly.
Thanks, Troy.
Next, we'll go to Dennis Gomez.
Thank you, Troy, for your time. Just wanted to ask you about, so Sandro Schwartz, Red Bull's coach, highlighted how DC United was the better team in transition last weekend. What are some of the things that you like DC to continue to do this weekend against Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought that was an important phase of play for us the other night. But first, before you can get into transition, you have to defend really well and be together in that moment. And so we created ball wins in good areas of the field, and then we had the right decision on the ball and the right timing to go and join in that moment. And so at Philly, it's difficult to do that because I think they're a team that attacks really well and they're very dynamic, but they also counter press really well. So this is something that we're going to have to be aware of, and we're going to just keep trying to build off of these last two matches.